The massive ship moved through space like a dark cloud blocking out the stars. It was the Dominion of Stars, the greatest warship ever built by the Veldran Empire. Behind it came 400 more ships, each one carrying enough weapons to destroy a small planet. High Sovereign Meldrix stood at the center of his command room. He was tall, with gray skin and 4 arms that he kept folded behind his back. His yellow eyes looked at the blue planet growing larger on the viewing screen. Earth, the home of humans. Another world to add to his collection. "My sovereign," said Captain Vorn, bowing low. "We have entered the system they call Sol. The human homeworld is ahead." Meldrix smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Tell me about their defenses." Vorn checked his display. "They have 12 orbital stations, perhaps 50 ships, 1 command carrier that appears to be their flagship." He paused. "My sovereign, their technology is primitive, 300 years behind our own." Laughter filled the command room. Officers and crew members all joined in. The Veldran had conquered over 200 worlds across 3 galaxies. They had crushed civilizations far more advanced than these humans. This would be easy. "Open a channel," Meldrix commanded. "I want the entire galaxy to see this." On Earth's orbital command station, alarms began to sound. Officers rushed to their positions. Admiral Yun Tae-ho walked calmly through the chaos. He was an older man with gray hair and steady hands. He had waited 30 years for this day. His father had waited before him, and his grandfather before that. Admiral called out Kan Su-bin, his chief tactical officer. She was younger, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "The Veldran are broadcasting on all channels. They want everyone to watch." Yun nodded slowly. "Let them watch." The viewing screens flickered, and High Sovereign Meldrix appeared. His image was sent to every planet, every station, every ship in the known galaxy. Billions of beings stopped what they were doing to watch. "People of Earth," Meldrix began, his voice dripping with amusement. "I am High Sovereign Meldrix of the Veldran Empire. I have come to accept your surrender." He gestured, and images appeared beside him. Earth's orbital stations. Earth's small fleet. Earth's single command carrier. "Look at this," Meldrix laughed. "This is what the humans call defense. 12 stations that my ships could destroy in seconds. 50 vessels that belong in a museum. 1 carrier that would make a good target for my gunners to practice on." Across the galaxy, conquered species watched in silence. They had seen this before. The Veldran would mock their target, then destroy it. There was never any other ending. "You have 1 hour to surrender," Meldrix continued. "Every human leader will present themselves to me. Your planet will become part of the Veldran Empire. Your people will serve us. If you refuse," he spread his 4 arms wide, "I will turn your blue world black with fire." The transmission ended. On Earth's command station, every officer looked at Admiral Yun. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Yun was neither. "Open a channel to their flagship," he said quietly. Kang Su-bin worked her controls. "Channel open, Admiral." Yun stepped forward so the camera could see him clearly. When he spoke, his voice was calm and respectful. "High Sovereign Meldrix, I am Admiral Yun Tae-ho of Earth's United Defense Fleet. We have received your message. The people of Earth do not wish for war. We offer peace and friendship to all beings in the galaxy." In his command room, Meldrix laughed so hard that tears ran down his gray face. "Peace? Friendship? You have no choice in this matter, human. Look at what you have. Look at what I have. Your peace means nothing. Your friendship is worth less than nothing." Yun continued as if he had not heard. "We ask that you leave our system. We have no quarrel with the Veldran Empire. We simply wish to live in peace. You wish?" Meldrix roared. You wish? I do not care what you wish. You are insects. You are nothing. In 1 hour, I will show the entire galaxy what happens to those who do not bow before the Veldran. He cut the transmission. Across the galaxy, beings shook their heads. The humans were fools. They should surrender now and hope for mercy. But there would be no mercy. The Veldran never showed mercy. On a distant world, Elder Zethus watched the broadcast with tired eyes. His people had been slaves of the Veldran for 400 years. He had seen many worlds fall. He would see one more fall today. Back on Earth's command station, Kang Su-bin turned to Admiral Yoon. Sir, our message has been received by all Veldran ships. They are laughing at us. Good, said Yoon. There was a small smile on his old face. Kang frowned. Good, sir? When your enemy laughs at you, they stop thinking. When they stop thinking, they stop looking. When they stop looking, they miss what is right in front of them. He walked to the main display and looked at the image of the Veldran fleet. 400 ships. More firepower than any human had ever seen. And yet, Yoon felt no fear. 300 years ago, he said, our ancestors detected the Veldran Empire expanding across the galaxy. They saw how the Veldran treated other species. Slavery, death, destruction. They knew the Veldran would eventually come for Earth. Kang nodded. Every human knew this history. Our ancestors made a choice, Yoon continued. They would not trade with the galaxy. They would not communicate. They would let everyone think humans were primitive and weak. And while the galaxy ignored us, we built. He turned to face his crew. We built for 300 years. Every generation added to our strength. Every year, we grew more powerful. And we hid it all. We hid it so well that even now, with 400 ships pointed at our home, the Veldran think we are helpless. The old admiral looked at the countdown timer. 45 minutes remained. Today, the galaxy will learn the truth about humanity. Today, the Veldran will learn what happens when you threaten our home. He took a deep breath. Today, we stop hiding. He turned to Kang Su-bin. His voice was steady and cold. Begin protocol horizon. Kang felt a shiver run down her spine. She had trained for this moment her entire life. Every officer on every ship had trained for this moment. And now it was here. Yes, Admiral, she said. Her fingers moved across her controls. Protocol horizon is active. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, massive machines began to wake up. On the dark side of the moon, hidden doors started to open. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, what appeared to be dead rocks began to glow with power. The hour was almost over. The Veldran were still laughing. They would not be laughing for much longer. Deep inside the moon, Park Ji-won watched his screens come alive with activity. He was the lead engineer of Project Horizon, the man who had spent 40 years building humanity's true defenses. Now, finally, his work would be tested. Power levels rising across all systems, reported one of his technicians. Lunar installations at 90% and climbing. Park nodded. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Everything humanity had built, everything they had hidden, was about to be revealed. On the command station, Admiral Yoon watched the countdown timer. 10 minutes remained. The Veldran fleet had moved closer, their weapons already aimed at Earth's orbital stations. Admiral, said Kang Su-bin, the Ghost Fleet reports ready. In the asteroid belt, Commander Bi-Ka-na sat in the command chair of her ship. The Silent Storm. Around her were 200 vessels, each one painted black and covered with technology that made them nearly invisible to sensors. The Ghost Fleet, Earth's secret weapon. All ships confirm ready. Beak reported through a secure channel. We are in position behind the Veldran formation. They have no idea we are here. Yoon smiled. Hold position, Commander. Wait for my signal. On the Veldran flagship, Captain Vorn frowned at his sensor display. Something was wrong. He could not say what exactly, but the readings were strange. Small energy spikes in places where there should be nothing. My sovereign, he said carefully, I am detecting some unusual readings. High Sovereign Meldrix waved a dismissive hand. What kind of readings? I am not certain. Small power signatures coming from the asteroid field. Also from what appears to be empty space near Earth's moon. Meldrix laughed. Empty space does not have power signatures, Captain. Your sensors are probably confused by all the space dust in this primitive system. Perhaps, but enough. Meldrix turned his attention back to the main screen. The hour is almost over. Prepare to fire on my command. Vorn wanted to argue, but he knew better. When the High Sovereign made a decision, questioning it meant death. He returned to his station and tried to ignore the growing feeling of unease in his stomach. The countdown reached 0. Humans, Meldrix broadcast, his voice booming across all channels. Your time has ended. You have chosen destruction. So be it. He raised one of his 4 arms. All ships, fire at will. 400 Veldran ships opened fire at once. Beams of bright energy shot toward Earth's orbital stations. Missiles launched in waves. The firepower was enough to crack a planet in half. But when the weapons reached their targets, something strange happened. The orbital stations flickered. Then they vanished. The energy beams passed through empty space. The missiles exploded against nothing. Meldrix stared at his screen in confusion. What? What is this? Captain Vorn checked his sensors again and again. My sovereign, the stations. They were not real. They were projections, holograms. Impossible. Meldrix roared. Humans do not have that technology. But even as he spoke, more projections began to fail. The outdated ships that had been floating near Earth disappeared one by one. The command carrier, the one that Meldrix had mocked, blinked out of existence. None of it had been real. In Project Horizon's control center, Park G1 allowed himself a small laugh. The holograms had served their purpose perfectly. They had shown the galaxy and the Veldran exactly what they expected to see. Primitive technology. Weak defenses. Easy targets. Now it was time to show them the truth. Activate all platforms, Park commanded. Across the solar system, hidden weapons came online. What had appeared to be asteroids opened up to reveal massive guns. What had looked like dead satellites unfolded into fighting drones. What had seemed to be space debris transformed into defensive platforms bristling with weapons. There were thousands of them. Thousands upon thousands. And they were everywhere. On his flagship, Meldrix watched in horror as his tactical display filled with new contacts. Red dots appeared all around his fleet. Behind them. Above them. Below them. On every side. How many? He whispered. Vorn's voice shook as he answered. Over 4,000 weapons platforms, my sovereign. And... He paused, not believing his own readings. Ships are emerging from the moon, from Mars, from the asteroid belt. The darkness of space began to glow as Earth's true fleet revealed itself. Ships of all sizes poured out of hidden bases. They were not the primitive vessels the Veldran had expected. These ships were sleek and deadly, their designs unlike anything in the galactic database. Commander Bikana's voice came through on all human frequencies. Ghost Fleet engaging. We have their rear blocked. The 200 ships of the Ghost Fleet dropped their stealth systems and appeared directly behind the Veldran formation. The enemy was surrounded. There was nowhere to run. Admiral Yun Taeho broadcast to all channels, his voice calm and clear. High Sovereign Meldrix. You asked to see Earth's defenses. Here they are. Meldrix stared at the screen showing the human admiral. His 4 hands were shaking. This is not possible. Our intelligence said. Your intelligence saw what we wanted them to see, Yoon replied. For 300 years, we showed the galaxy weakness. We let everyone think we were primitive. We refused to trade technology. We stayed silent and hidden. And while you were conquering worlds, we were building. He leaned forward, his eyes hard as steel. We built 3,000 warships. We built weapons your scientists cannot understand. We developed technology that makes your empire look primitive. The old admiral paused. You thought you were coming to conquer helpless victims. You were wrong. Across the galaxy, billions watched in stunned silence. The conquered species could not believe what they were seeing. The humans, the quiet species that everyone ignored, had built an armada that dwarfed the Veldran attack force. Elder Zephys fell to his knees and wept. For the first time in 400 years, he felt something he had forgotten. Hope. On his flagship, High Sovereign Meldrix tried to regain control. His officers were panicking. His crew was crying out in fear. This could not be happening. The Veldran Empire had never lost a battle. Never. Silence. He roared. We are the Veldran. We do not run from primitives. He turned to Captain Vorn. Order all ships to attack. We still have 400 vessels. We can fight our way out. Vorn looked at his sovereign with something close to pity. My sovereign, their weapons are charging. Their ships are moving into attack formation. If we fight, we will be destroyed. Then, we will be destroyed with honor. Meldrix screamed. Fire everything. The Veldran fleet launched another attack. Missiles and energy beams flew toward the human ships. What happened next would be remembered for 1,000 years. The human ships did not dodge. They did not use shields. Instead, strange fields of energy appeared around them. The Veldran weapons hit these fields and simply stopped. The missiles hung frozen in space. The energy beams curved away harmlessly. Gravity manipulation, Park Ji-won said proudly, watching from his control center. They are using gravity itself as a weapon, and we control gravity. Now it was Earth's turn to fire. The human weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Beams of twisted light that cut through Veldran shields like paper. Missiles that disappeared and reappeared inside enemy ships before exploding. Pulses that crushed vessels from within, as if a giant hand had squeezed them in the first minute of battle. 50 Veldran ships were destroyed in the second minute. 50 more. Captain Vorn watched his tactical display turn from mostly green to mostly red. They were dying. They were all dying. My sovereign, he begged, we must retreat. We must warn the Empire. But Meldrix was no longer listening. He stood frozen at his command screen, watching his fleet burn. His mind could not accept what was happening. This was impossible. This was wrong. The humans were supposed to be weak. The humans were supposed to be easy. Admiral Yoon watched the battle unfold with no joy on his face. He took no pleasure in death. But he would do whatever was necessary to protect his home. Continue the attack, he ordered. Leave them nowhere to run. Commander Beacon-A's Ghost Fleet closed in from behind. Earth main fleet pressed forward from the front. The trap was complete. The Veldran had come to mock Earth's defenses. Now they would pay the price. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of burning ships. Cho Dong-wook pushed his fighter through the chaos, dodging debris and enemy fire. He had been a pilot for 20 years, had faced pirates and raiders near the outer colonies. But nothing had prepared him for this. Blue Squadron, stay with me, he called through his communicator. Target the command ships. Take out their leaders. 12 fighters followed him as he dove toward a Veldran cruiser. The enemy ship was massive, 10 times the size of his small vessel. But size did not matter anymore. Human technology made sure of that. Lock missiles, Cho ordered. Fire. The missiles launched from all 12 fighters. They flew toward the cruiser, and then, just before impact, they vanished. They reappeared inside the ship, beyond its shields, deep within its hull. The explosions came from within. The cruiser broke apart in a ball of fire. Direct hit, Cho reported. Moving to next target. On Earth's command station, Shin Yuna monitored all enemy communications. She was young, only 25, but she was the best communications officer in the fleet. Her job was to listen to the enemy and report what she heard. What she heard was pure panic. "Admiral," she said, her voice filled with disbelief, "the Veldren are in complete chaos. Their officers are screaming for retreat. Their crews are abandoning stations. Some ships are trying to surrender." Admiral Yoon nodded slowly. "And what is High Sovereign Meldrick saying?" Shin Yuna listened for a moment. Her face went pale. "He's ordering his ships to continue fighting. He says any captain who tries to retreat will be executed. He says they would rather die than lose to primitives." "Then many will die," Yoon said quietly. There was no anger in his voice, only sadness. "Broadcast their communications across all channels. Let the galaxy hear." Shin Yuna did as ordered. Across thousands of worlds, billions of beings listened to the Veldren fleet come apart. They heard officers begging for orders. They heard crews crying in fear. They heard explosions and screams as ship after ship was destroyed, and they heard High Sovereign Meldricks still demanding that his people fight and die for his pride. On the Veldren flagship, Sub-Commander Thel stood at his station with shaking hands. He was young for a Veldren officer, only 300 years old. He had believed in the Empire. He had believed they were unstoppable. Now he watched that belief burn along with the fleet. "Captain Vaughn," he said, keeping his voice low so Meldricks could not hear. "We must do something. If we stay here, we will all die." Vaughn looked at the young officer. His own fear was clear in his eyes. "What would you have me do?" "The High Sovereign has ordered us to fight. To disobey means death. To obey also means death," Thel pointed out. "At least if we try to escape, some might survive." Before Vaughn could answer, another explosion shook the ship. A human vessel had hit them with something, a beam of energy that had passed right through their shields, as if the shields were not there. "Hull breach on deck 7 through 12, a technician reported. "We are losing atmosphere." Meldricks finally seemed to notice that his own ship was being damaged. He spun around, his yellow eyes wide with fury. "Why are we being hit? Where are our shields?" "My Sovereign," Vaughn said carefully. "Their weapons ignore shields. They have technology we do not understand. Our defenses are useless against them." Meldricks stared at him. For a moment, he looked like he might kill Vaughn where he stood. Then something in his expression changed. The fury faded, replaced by confusion, and then something that looked almost like fear. "This cannot be," he whispered. "We are the Veldren. We are the masters of the galaxy." In the asteroid belt, Commander Bikana directed her ghost fleet with cold precision. Her ships had dropped their stealth systems now. There was no need to hide anymore. The Veldren knew exactly where she was, and they could do nothing about it. "Block all escape routes," she ordered. "Any ship that tries to run gets destroyed. No one leaves until the Admiral says otherwise." Her ships moved to obey. The Veldren were trapped completely. Behind them was the Ghost Fleet. In front of them was Earth's main force. Above and below were weapons platforms. They had nowhere to go. Cho Dongwook and his squadron swept through the battle, taking down target after target. The Veldren tried to fight back, but their weapons could not hit the human fighters. The small ships were too fast, too nimble, and their shields could bend enemy fire away. "This is almost too easy," said one of his wingmen. Do not get comfortable, Cho warned. They still have numbers. Stay focused. But he understood what his pilot meant. The Veldran had conquered hundreds of worlds. They were supposed to be the greatest military power in the galaxy. And yet they were being destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. 2 hours into the battle, 300 Veldran ships had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 200 were running out of power, out of ammunition, out of hope. Shin Yuna continued broadcasting everything. The whole galaxy was watching. On a world called Theron 7, a group of slaves stopped their work in the mines and gathered around a hidden screen. They watched the Veldran die. For the first time in generations, they smiled. On the trade station of Nexus Prime, merchants and travelers stood in shocked silence before public displays. The Veldran had seemed unstoppable. How could this be happening? On the council world of the unified species, diplomats whispered to each other in horror. If the humans could do this to the Veldran, what could they do to everyone else? But in all the places where conquered species were held in chains, there was only joy. Elder Zethus watched with tears running down his face. He remembered the day the Veldran had come to his world. He remembered the screams as his people were taken as slaves. He had thought he would die before seeing the Veldran fall. Now he was watching it happen. On Earth Command Station, Admiral Yoon surveyed the battlefield. The Veldran formation had collapsed. Ships drifted without power. Others burned as fires consumed them from within. A few still tried to fight, but they were quickly silenced. Admiral Kang Soo-bin reported, enemy losses are at 75%. The remaining ships have stopped firing. Yoon nodded. And our losses? 12 ships damaged. None destroyed. No weapons platforms lost. She paused, still amazed. Sir, we are winning. We are winning easily. We are not finished yet, Yoon reminded her. The High Sovereign lives. His flagship still has power. This does not end until it ends completely. He looked at the image of the battered Veldran flagship on his screen. The mighty dominion of stars was covered in burns and holes. It was bleeding atmosphere from a dozen wounds. But it was still there. Meldrix was still alive. Yoon turned to his communications officer. Open a channel to the enemy flagship. The screen flickered, and High Sovereign Meldrix appeared. He looked different now. The arrogance was gone from his face. His gray skin was pale. His yellow eyes darted around as if looking for an escape that did not exist. High Sovereign, Yoon said calmly, your fleet is destroyed. Your weapons cannot hurt us. Your defenses cannot protect you. It is time to discuss surrender. Meldrix stared at him. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he began to laugh. It was not a healthy laugh. It was the laugh of someone whose mind was breaking. Surrender? He said. The Veldran do not surrender. The Veldran do not lose. He leaned toward the screen, his eyes wild. This is not over, human. The greater empire will avenge us. 1,000 more ships will come. 10,000. You have made a powerful enemy today. Yoon's expression did not change. Then we will destroy those ships too. But that is a problem for another day. Right now, I am offering you a chance to end this without more death. Take it. Meldrix's laugh died. His face twisted with hate. Never, he hissed. I will never bow to primitives. He cut the transmission. Kang Soo-bin turned to Yoon. What do we do now, Admiral? Yoon was quiet for a moment. He had hoped Meldrix would see reason. He had hoped to avoid more killing. But some beings could not be reasoned with. Some would rather die than admit defeat. We wait, he said finally. We give them one more chance to surrender. If they refuse, he did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. The galaxy was still watching. The battle had paused. But everyone knew it was not over yet. The end was still coming. The silence after the battle was deeper than space itself. Where 400 Veldran ships had gathered, there was now only empty darkness. Not a single piece of debris remained. The entire fleet, including High Sovereign Meldrix and his flagship, had simply ceased to exist. Across the galaxy, billions of beings stared at their screens in shock. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had seen terrible weapons and great battles. But they had never seen anything like this. The humans had not just won. They had erased their enemy from reality. Admiral Yoon Tae-ho stood at the center of Earth Command Station. His crew waited for orders. His fleet waited for direction. The whole galaxy waited to see what humanity would do next. "Open a channel," Yoon said quietly. "Broadcast to all frequencies." When the camera activated, Yoon did not smile. He did not boast. He spoke with the same calm voice he had used throughout the battle. "The Veldran fleet has been destroyed. High Sovereign Meldrix is dead. The threat to Earth has been eliminated." He paused, choosing his next words carefully. "I take no pleasure in what happened here today. Thousands of Veldran are dead. Many of them were soldiers following orders, doing what they believed was right. Their deaths were not something we wanted. They were something we were forced to cause." His eyes seemed to look through the screen, directly at everyone watching. "Earth seeks no empire. We have no desire to rule over other species or claim territory beyond our own system. We built our weapons to protect ourselves, not to conquer others. That remains true today." He straightened his shoulders. "But let this be clear. We will never be victims. We will never allow another power to threaten our home, our people, our children. Any who try will face the same fate as the Veldran. This is not a threat. It is a promise." The broadcast ended. And then, slowly, something amazing began to happen. On the enslaved world of Kethris 4, workers in the processing plants stopped their machines. Their Veldran overseers had been watching the battle, and now those overseers were running for their ships, trying to escape before the humans came for them. "They are leaving," one worker whispered. "The masters are leaving. For the first time in 200 years. The chains came off on the mining colony of Draken Prime. Prisoners who had dug ore for the Veldran Empire, their entire lives walked out of the mines and looked up at the sky. Their guards had fled. Their cells were empty. "We are free," an old man said, tears running down his face. "We are finally free." All across Veldran space, the same scene repeated. Slaves revolted. Prisoners escaped. Conquered peoples rose up against their weakened masters. The empire that had seemed unbreakable was crumbling in a matter of hours. 3 months after the battle, a small transport ship arrived at Earth. On board was Elder Zethis, the leader of the Kalari people. His species had been enslaved for 400 years. Now, thanks to the human victory, they were free for the first time in generations. Admiral Yoon met him at the landing platform. The old alien walked slowly down the ramp, his legs weak from the long journey. When he reached Yoon, he bowed deeply. "Admiral," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "On behalf of my people, I thank you. You have given us something we thought we would never have again. You have given us hope." Yoon helped the old being stand straight. "You do not need to bow to me, Elder. We did not fight for your thanks. We fought to protect our home. That your freedom came from it is a blessing we are grateful for." Zethis looked around at the humans working at the spaceport. Young people laughing. Children playing. Life going on as normal, as if the greatest military victory in galactic history had not just happened. "May I ask you something, Admiral?" "Of course. Why did your people hide your strength for so long? With this power, you could have challenged the Veldran centuries ago. You could have built an empire of your own. Why did you wait?" Yoon smiled slightly. It was the first real smile he had shown since the battle. "Because strength shown is strength tested," he said. "Our ancestors knew that if we revealed our power, others would fear us. They would attack us before we were ready. They would form alliances against us. So we chose to be quiet. We chose to be underestimated." He looked up at the sky, at the stars that had always seemed so far away. "There is an old saying among my people. The loudest one in the room is rarely the strongest." The Veldren were loud. They wanted everyone to know how powerful they were. They wanted everyone to fear them. And because of that, they never saw us coming. Zethus nodded slowly. "The quiet ones are the most dangerous." Something like that. They walked together through the spaceport, the old alien and the human admiral who had changed the galaxy. Around them, humans went about their daily lives. Some recognized Yoon and nodded respectfully. Most just continued with their business. "What happens now?" Zethus asked. "The Veldren Empire is falling apart. Many species are looking for leadership. They are looking to Earth." Yoon shook his head. "We will not lead them. That is not our place. Then what will you do?" "We will help. We will send aid to worlds that need it. We will help freed species rebuild their civilizations. We will offer protection to those who ask for it." Yoon paused. "But we will not rule. We will not give orders. Each species must find its own path." In the months that followed, a new era began for the galaxy. Earth became a founding member of a new council, one built on equality rather than conquest. Former slaves became free citizens. Former masters faced justice for their crimes. And slowly, painfully, the galaxy began to heal. Not everyone was happy with Earth's new role. Some feared that the humans would eventually seek power for themselves. Others resented owing their freedom to outsiders. But most beings looked at Earth with something close to wonder. The humans had had every reason to conquer. They had the power to rule everything. And they had chosen not to. 1 year after the battle, a memorial was built on Earth's moon. It honored all those who had died, human and Veldren alike. Admiral Yoon attended the dedication ceremony, along with the leaders from dozens of worlds. As he stood before the memorial, a young Veldren approached him. She was barely an adult, her gray skin smooth and unmarked by time. She had lost her father in the battle. "Do you regret what you did?" she asked. There was no anger in her voice, only sadness. Yoon considered the question carefully. "I regret that it was necessary," he said. "I regret that your father and so many others had to die. I wish there had been another way. But you would do it again? To protect my people?" Yoon nodded slowly. "Yes, I would do it again. Not because I wanted to, but because it was the only choice left." The young Veldren looked at the memorial for a long moment. Then she turned and walked away. Yoon watched her go, wondering if she would ever forgive humanity, wondering if he would ever forgive himself. That evening, Yoon stood alone at the window of his quarters, looking out at the stars. So many worlds, so many species, so many possibilities for the future. Kang Soo-bin found him there. She had retired from active service after the battle, but she still visited often. "The galaxy has changed," she said, standing beside him. "Because of us." "Yes," Yoon agreed. "I hope we changed it for the better. We freed billions of slaves. We stopped a conquest that would have continued for centuries. We gave hope to species that had none." She smiled. "I think we did well, Admiral." Yoon did not answer. He was thinking of all the lives lost, all the families broken, all the pain that came with even a righteous war. But he was also thinking of the children who would grow up free, the peoples who would build their own futures, the galaxy that would never again have to fear the Veldren Empire. Perhaps it was worth it. Perhaps all the suffering had led to something good. Far away, On a world that had been enslaved for generations, a child looked up at the night sky. Her parents had told her stories about the humans, about the day the chains had been broken. Someday, she whispered, I want to meet them. I want to thank them. She did not know that the humans wanted no thanks. She did not know that they considered their actions simply doing what was right. All she knew was that she was free, and that was enough. The galaxy had mocked Earth's defenses. They would never make that mistake again. The battle had paused, but the tension had not faded. Earth's fleet held its position around the broken remains of the Veldran Armada. 100 ships still had power. Most were badly damaged. None could escape. On Earth's command station, Minseok arrived on the bridge. He was not a military man. He was a diplomat, a former professor who had spent his life studying alien cultures. Now he had a different job: to speak for humanity to the rest of the galaxy. Admiral, he said, bowing slightly to Yoon, I believe this is my moment. Yoon nodded. The channel is yours, Professor. Say what needs to be said. Minseok stepped forward and faced the camera that would broadcast his words across every system, every planet, every ship in the known galaxy. He took a deep breath and began to speak. My name is Minseok. I speak for the United Earth government. Today, you have witnessed something that many believed impossible. The Veldran Empire, which has conquered and enslaved hundreds of worlds, has been defeated in battle by the people of Earth. He paused to let those words sink in. I want to be clear about something. Earth did not seek this fight. We did not want this war. For 300 years, we watched the Veldran expand across the stars. We saw them enslave entire species. We saw them destroy civilizations that would not bow to them. And we knew that one day they would come for us. His voice grew stronger. So we prepared. We built in secret. We trained in silence. We showed the galaxy a face of weakness while we grew strong behind closed doors. Not because we wanted power. Not because we dreamed of conquest. We did it because we had no choice. We did it to survive. Across the galaxy, billions listened. Slaves stopped their work. Merchants paused their trades. Leaders of every species gathered around screens to hear what the humans would say next. Today, the Veldran learned what happens when you underestimate humanity. Today, they learned that the quiet ones are often the most dangerous. Minseok's eyes were hard. But I want every species watching to understand something important. Earth does not seek to replace the Veldran as masters of the galaxy. We do not want slaves. We do not want to rule over others. He spread his hands. We want only one thing: freedom. Freedom for ourselves and freedom for every species that has been crushed under the Veldran boot. If you are a slave, know this Earth will help you fight for your liberty. If you are free but afraid, know this Earth will stand with you against any who threaten you. On 100 enslaved worlds, beings looked at each other with hope in their eyes. Could it be true? Could the chains finally be broken? To any Veldran watching, Minseok continued, we offer you a choice. Lay down your weapons and return to your home worlds. Release your slaves. Stop your conquest. Do these things, and there will be peace. Refuse and face what remains of your fleet. He gestured at the wreckage floating in space. The choice is yours. The broadcast ended. Silence hung over the galaxy like a blanket. On the Veldran flagship, High Sovereign Meldrix watched the human diplomat with burning hate in his eyes. His officers stood around him, waiting for orders. Many of them secretly hoped he would accept the offer. They wanted to live. They wanted to go home. My sovereign, Captain Vorn said carefully. Perhaps we should consider what? Meldrix snarled. Surrendering to these creatures? Releasing our slaves? Giving up everything we have built? He shook his head violently. Never, never. Sub-Commander Thel stepped forward. His voice shook, but he forced himself to speak. My sovereign, with respect, our fleet is destroyed. We have no way to fight back. If we surrender, at least our people will survive. We can rebuild. Meldrix moved faster than anyone expected. He pulled a weapon from his belt and fired. Thel fell to the ground, dead before he hit the floor. Does anyone else wish to speak of surrender? Meldrix asked, looking around the command room. No one answered. No one dared to move. Meldrix turned back to his screen. He studied the human ships surrounding him. He studied the weapons platforms that filled the space around Earth. For a long moment, he was silent. Then he smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. It was the smile of someone who had lost everything and no longer cared what happened next. If I cannot win, he said softly, then I will make sure the humans lose as well. He turned to his weapons officer. How many ships still have power for engines? The officer checked his display. 47, my sovereign. But they are damaged. They cannot fight. I do not want them to fight, Meldrix said. I want them to ram. I want them to fly directly into the human cities on that planet below. I want every ship that can move to become a weapon. If we are going to die, we will take as many humans with us as possible. Captain Vorn's face went pale. My sovereign, that would kill billions of civilians, women, children. This is war. Meldrix cut him off. And in war, you use every weapon you have. He raised his voice so the entire command room could hear. All ships, all crews. By my order, you will aim for the planet and accelerate to maximum speed. We will show these humans that challenging the Veldran has a price. We will make them regret ever standing against us. On Earth's command station, Shin Yuna turned to Admiral Yoon with horror in her eyes. Admiral, I am intercepting Veldran communications. The High Sovereign is ordering his remaining ships to crash into Earth, into our cities. Kang Soo-bin jumped to her feet. They are starting to move. 47 ships are breaking formation and heading toward the planet. Admiral Yoon's expression did not change, but something in his eyes went cold. Very cold. I offered peace, he said quietly. I offered surrender. I gave them every chance. He turned to face his crew. Every officer on the bridge was looking at him, waiting. The High Sovereign has chosen to target our civilians, our families, our children. Yoon's voice was steady, but there was steel underneath it. I will not allow this. Kang Soo-bin nodded. What are your orders, Admiral? Yoon walked to the main command console. He entered a code that only he knew. A new option appeared on the screen. Protocol Erasure. For 10 years, Yoon had known about this weapon. He had prayed he would never need to use it. It was too powerful, too final. But now there was no choice. All ships, fall back to safe distance, he ordered. Weapons platforms, stand down. The human fleet began to move away from the Veldran ships. The 47 vessels heading for Earth accelerated, thinking they had a clear path. They were wrong. Across the solar system, hidden devices began to power up. They were not weapons in the traditional sense. They were something far worse. They were machines that could fold space itself, that could take a piece of reality and simply remove it. Admiral Yoon looked at the screen showing the Veldran ships rushing toward his home. He thought of his grandchildren on the surface below. He thought of the millions of families looking up at the sky, wondering if they would live or die. He pressed his hand against the console. So be it, he said. Activate the erasure. High Sovereign Meldrix was laughing as his ships raced toward Earth. He would lose, but he would hurt them. He would make them suffer. The laughter died in his throat. Something strange was happening. The space around his ship was changing. It was folding, twisting. The stars themselves were bending in ways that should not be possible. "What is this?" he whispered. "What are they doing?" Captain Vorn checked his sensors and found nothing. Not because there was nothing to see, but because his sensors no longer made sense. Reality itself was breaking down around them. "I do not know, my sovereign," he said. "I have never seen anything like this." The walls of the ship began to creak. The lights flickered. Crew members screamed as gravity shifted randomly, throwing them against walls and ceilings. And then, suddenly, there was silence. On Earth's command station, Admiral Yoon watched his screen. Where the Veldran fleet had been, there was now nothing. Not wreckage, not debris, not even atoms. The ships were simply gone, erased from existence. The Veldran Empire had come to mock Earth's defenses. Now, there was nothing left of them at all. Yoon closed his eyes for a moment. He felt no joy, only a deep, heavy sadness. So many lives lost, so much destruction, all because one being could not accept defeat. When he opened his eyes, his officers were staring at him in awe and fear. "It is over," he said quietly. "Stand down all weapons. Begin search and rescue operations for any survivors." There would be no survivors, but he gave the order anyway. It was the right thing to do. The galaxy was still watching. The galaxy had just seen something they would never forget. Earth had spoken, and the universe had listened.